Einar Tangen joins me now from Beijing. He's a senior fellow at the Taihe Institute and the chairman of Asia Narrative. So, Einar, security, the big focus at this White House meeting. We also know that Japan last month announced its biggest military buildup since World War II, a dramatic change in recent decades because of concerns it says that it has about China. So is this a reflection on the current and relatively new leadership there of Prime Minister Kishida, who's only been in office for a little more than a year?
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing very well in the popularity polls. There's still questions about the links of his party to Unification Church, and that's related, obviously, to the assassination of Shinzo Abe. So, you have two leaders, both facing some domestic concerns. Biden over the files that are, showing up in its different locations. And they're talking a lot, as Nathan said, about security. But, you start looking at it, the problem with these countries have is not security, it's economics. Japan put on a brave face and said, oh, they expect 2023 to be a good year, 1.5% growth, which of course would lag everyone else in Asia. But it's just not clear how they're going to do that. The private side is saying, well, we think there is actually going to be a recession. Inflation is higher. The economic realities are that real wages have shrank 4.4% last quarter. So, no relief in sight. All of the negotiated wages that are out there, the unions are saying 5%, they might get 2.5%, but the fact is you're going to see a decrease in actual real spendable wages. And that is not going to sit well with, they might have 55 trillion yuan in in savings, but if your real wages are going down, you're not tempted to spend. So they have real issues, and I think at this juncture, it looks like all the security talk is a ruse to kind of deflect attention from the realities at home.
I want to get to economics in just a moment because Prime Minister Kishida is visiting G7 nations. But going back to the security front quickly, what do Japan's Asian neighbors think of all of this, its planned military buildup?
Well, they're not impressed. I mean, this is seen. Nathan was hinting that this could be seen as a provocation. It clearly is. China isn't out there threatening anybody. It's the other way around. It's the United States who's shipping, advanced weapon systems to Taiwan and claiming that it's sending officials and claiming that Taiwan's under threat and that they need to do more to, quote, protect Taiwan, despite the fact that the U.S. acknowledged the one China policy many, many years ago, basis of the whole relationship. So everyone else is saying, well, what's Japan up to? And I think the only conclusion neighbors can come to is that this is trying to deflect attention away from the economic realities at a time when Kishida is trying to find a way to deal with the economics there. I mean, he wanted to raise taxes. That was, rejected by his party and popular sentiment. He just doesn't know where to go, and debt is climbing over 250% of GDP. That's where Japan's debt is, the largest debtor nation in the world. It's the third largest economy, but it's not exhibiting signs of growth. So he needs something to gain time, and I think he thinks that security issues will do it.
Is there added pressure because Japan is assuming the G7 presidency?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not, the G7 presidency is not as substantial as it once was. People are more focused on the G20. It's a multilateral world. What the G7 does or says is not, doesn't carry as much gravity or gravitas as it used to. And quite frankly, the G7 hasn't stepped up to the plate. There hasn't been any kind of new issues that they've brought forward or, more important, solutions. So at this juncture, it's becoming less relevant as the G20 takes more prominence.
And what do you make of the fact that in discussions today, Japan and the U.S. not totally on the same page when it comes to China chips, semiconductors?
Well, this goes back to what Nathan was talking about. There's a lot of talk about the security, but the underlying reality is that the Japanese say, well, you're our allies, U.S., but you're shutting us out of your markets. We're not going to be, our car companies won't be eligible for the rebates that you're offering, other, American onshoring, this whole chip thing. Yes, we understand that, China, you perceive China as a threat, we'll play along. But the fact is, they don't want to cut off their markets at a time when they could be going into recession. That's not going to be popular politically. And, right now, you see a lot of voters' remorse going around the world. They elect leaders, and within a few months, they're saying, "Oh, gee, this wasn't what I was expecting." They want, really quick solutions, and none of these guys really have it. These are long-term problems, and that's where the reality is. They don't have the planning or the consistency to implement what is necessary to create real change in their economies.